So this will be a very foreign policy intensive video. You know, foreign policy, what the United States does all around the world to keep its hegemony, something that, of course, the left, the right, the mainstream media, no one wants to talk about now for some reason. That's why we're going to talk about it in this video, specifically with the shocking developments that are happening right now in Libya and also in Somalia. Now, Jason, let's get into this Libya story first because, I mean, this is an issue we've been covering from the very beginning, even before Barack Obama, the person who won a Nobel Peace Prize, along with NATO, started bombing the crap out of that country in order to liberate them. Again, we were calling this out from the very beginning, even before Obama sent in the bombs, even before NATO destroyed that place, even though before Gaddafi, their leader, who, by the way, was working on an African union and gold-backed currency in that region, even before he got stabbed in the you-know-what, and was overthrown, we were saying what's going to happen with U.S. intervention is going to create a hotbed of not only global jihadism, of global terrorism in that region, but it's going to create a situation where there's going to be a massive power vacuum and different factions together are going to be fighting against each other. Muammar Gaddafi even warned about the immigration crisis that's going to hit Europe as an effect of the United States getting rid of him, and that's exactly what we've seen even on specifically in Libya, where there also is, Jason, a slave market. There's Africans who are trying to get to Europe that are literally put into slavery in Libya and sold for $500. Do you want to own a person? You literally go to Libya and you can give someone $500 and they'll give you an African slave. This is what Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and NATO brought to the world. I remember even trying to go do actual reporting on the ground in Libya myself. And looking at the situation, trying to even come into that country was an utter chaotic mess. Now, I also went to Somalia, which, of course, I'm going to be talking about in just a little bit, would also directly connected to the other foreign policy news. But looking into going into Libya myself, it came to a situation where, okay, you want to go to Libya? You're going to have to pay off certain individuals to be allowed in there, different factions, because what's happening right now is different people, different groups, different organizations, and even radical Islamic elements are fighting for key territories and are saying, if you want to be in this territory, you're going to have to pay off these guys. And the reason I didn't go to Libya is because one of the things that was said to me by, the people that I was researching and thinking about going with was that one group could be in this specific area that you bought off, that you get permission from. The next day could be another group, and you're absolutely screwed and you're on your own. And the safety risk was actually too intensive even for me to go to Libya myself. And now we're seeing the exact ramifications of that go into another crazier, chaotic situation where now there is a rebel army on the doorsteps of Tripoli, where Libya literally is on the brink of civil war. I mean, they've been in civil war, but now this is a major civil war development. The headline reads here, as anti-government troops surround capital and gun battle breaks out in suburbs. There's been ferocious exchanges of gunfire between these major factions. And Jason, why don't you tell us what's going on the ground here with Mr. Commander Khalifa Haftar in that specific region?
Yeah, so I want to be clear. He's being called Hifter in one publication, in The Guardian, Haftar in the other. But the basis is, listen, this is a military general. He now has a bunch of rebel forces, a bunch of weapons, and the UN is saying he's coming into Tripoli. For people that don't understand, Tripoli is the capital of Libya. And what people don't seem to understand, Luke, especially with you, probably talking about how dangerous it is and no one's trying to say it isn't. This was a second, almost first world nation under Gaddafi. He had done a lot to build this nation up into a secular, quasi-capitalist place where you could make money. It wasn't, listen, no one's saying the guy wasn't a dictator. Let's be clear. All right? But there are levels. It's just like calling Bashir al-Assad a dictator.
But Gaddafi even instituted a lot of socialistic policies that Bernie Sanders talks about. That's another aspect here. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
No, I think that's very valid. So, listen, I'm not going to defend the man, but to call him like the brutalist, to have Hillary Clinton out there cackling, we came, we saw, he died. It's like, oh, that's great, because now after he's dead, we have a real slave trade. We have turmoil. We have almost a civil war going on. And honestly, I think that we're going to see a very heavy civil war in the coming weeks.
It is a civil war. It is a civil war. It's been a civil war. It's been factions. There's two different governments trying to vie responsibility on the coast, because I was thinking about, of course, going through to Libya through a boat. It's one of the safer ways to get there. And what was told to me is like, yeah, there's a Coast Guard. It's owned by one government. Another form of government there doesn't like it. It could be there. It could not be there. You have to pay them off to get in. And again, it's a probability maybe we could even get in and talk to the certain individuals who are allegedly a part of this government when another government wants to be in power. But give us some of the factions here, Jason, and keep going.
Yeah, so if you look here, Haftar's troops are assembled in the Jufra era, and it is thought forces from the coastal town of Misrata, loyal to the government of Siraj, like you said, there's so many factions, so much fractured government here, are willing to stage attacks against him. As the military leader in the East, Haftar may not yet have secured the level of militia support he expected inside of Tripoli, but one source said alliances were shifting by the hour. And that's the really other interesting caveat to this, is that there aren't that many hardliners. There are many people that, again, in this war that are just willing to go with the winning side. They don't want to be a casualty. They want to ensure that their family's going to be okay. They want to just, make sure that they are the winners.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane, crazy situation that's developing in that very specific region, but also a very similar one that's unfolding in Somalia. And you can look at Somalia as kind of the case in point of also very similar things that are involving and happening here in Libya, because they've been happening in Somalia for a number of years now. Sorry, that's some weird helicopter here flying overhead here. I'm here in Washington, D.C., getting distracted here just a little bit. But this latest news coming out of Africa is also extremely surprising, because the United States military is actually admitting to war crimes. I mean, I was there on the ground, and I was telling you, hey, I'm hearing from a lot of people, a lot of individuals who are saying innocent civilians and casualties are being created by the United States raids, by the United States drone. I reported on Donald Trump expanding AFRICOM and the bigger resource war, and what people are even calling colonization that's happening in Africa with China versus the United States in that specific region. And the United States always, time and time again, their foreign policy is always use the military, use the military. In Somalia, it's a very complicated situation, but I can tell you on the ground they are making it worse by denying civilian casualties, causing civilian casualties, literally pushing people. Play some of the video that I have, Jason, lined up here, because this is an interview I did with an individual who's a farmer, lost over a dozen of his family members in a failed U.S. raid, and this man, literally, this man was like, hey, I have to fight every single day with my community to make sure that they don't go over to Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab, of course, is the terrorist aspect, because the United States came in here, they killed our family, and they lied about it. And other family members, I have to physically restrain and talk to them and make sure that they don't join
this is a
radical elements. Oh, I'm sorry?
No, continue.
Yeah, they have to join other radical elements to, this is the blowback theory that I'm kind of describing here. So this is actually a good step forward, even though it's horrible news, but seeing the United States admit to some wrongdoing is the first step in actually correcting this problem, and it's shocking to see them do it in Somalia, of all places, another war-torn area filled with sectarian violence, filled with a major power vacuum and radical Islamic terrorists. That's the man that we were talking to, and that's some of the raids that, of course, were highly contested, the U.S. military denied, and lied to the family of, which, again, is a lot of disrespect, huge disrespect, especially to anyone, but specifically in Somali culture, which is important to bring up here and also understand. Anything else you want to say on this specific topic, Jason?
Yeah, so if you actually look at this article, Luke, it's a small win. For instance, when you were there and you were talking about Al-Shabaab and how innocent civilians have been killed, it was that there were Amnesty International and others claiming that on March 20th of last year that at least 14 civilians had died due to American airstrikes. And, of course, the United States is not admitting to this. However, they are admitting to at least 2. This is a start. It's a very small start. People are really not aware, even in this country, that we are at war
Yeah.
in Africa. They don't understand
Yeah,
what
we have
Africa
boots on the
is.
ground. We have boots on the ground in Yemen. We have boots on the ground in Somalia, and it's more than just 2 individuals. Trust me, it's a lot more. And the more that it creates, the more numbers that al-Shabaab gets in that specific region. They roughly have a militia of 7,000 and 9,000 fighters. Those numbers grow every time incidences like this happen. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all. That's all I really had to say. Is like this is a small start. I hope that more people understand that we are at war in Africa. AFRICOM is a real thing. It's been going on since the Obama administration. It's not even whispered about by this administration because let me promise you, people like Pompeo, people like Bolton, they love this stuff. They can't get enough of it. So it's really going to be up to us to shine a light on this darkness and start getting the military out of foreign countries we have no business being in.
Yeah, instead of calling for more intervention like we are already doing in Syria and are continuing to do in Syria, or like we're trying to do in Venezuela, which is absolutely insane. These stories, these specific 2 articles that we talked about should be a lesson that no, that's not the right answer. We shouldn't bomb and kill people to liberate them. That's a whole bunch of hooey bullcrap. That's why we made a video even calling out Alex Jones, because he said, yes, let's go fight Venezuelans because they're coming on the border. And they're not coming on the border. Again, total disinformation, total lies. War has never been justified with truth, especially in the United States with its foreign policy. And I'm sick of the world not only being a worse place off, but also our money just being sent to make the world a worse place off. And I saw that personally on the ground in Somalia. We're seeing it in Libya. I tried to go to Libya. Too freaking dangerous. Somalia is a lot safer for me as an individual, as a reporter, than Libya. That's how absolutely insane the situation is there on the ground. Again, the left doesn't want to talk about this. The right doesn't want to talk about this. The mainstream media, which is controlled by the military-industrial complex, will never talk about this. We're pretty much only talking about this. Even alternative media. Alternative media is now calling for war. Absolute lunacy. If you agree with that, share this video, because guess what? No one else will. YouTube won't. Literally, the only voice about this, unless we're wrong, let me know if we're wrong, is pretty much here from what I'm seeing. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.